Everybody, this is Ethan from Rec Room Recording, and just coming back and talking again about how to make money as an artist, trying to create different revenue streams outside of just traditional sales of music. And so this past few days, we've been talking about sync music and also how to be a studio musician. All of these are just kind of quick 10-minute, 15-minute talks, just general overview, and to give you an idea of just the alternate ways to make money. So today I'm kind of going to talk about being a producer as as also as an artist. A lot of times, a lot of musicians will go that route just because it kind of makes sense in that they are creating all this art, and then they have a good idea of what they want. That they learn how to record themselves, they learn how to kind of produce a track and then mix and master, and eventually, right, other people want them to do it. But before I get into that, I just wanted to quickly touch base that March 12th and 13th is now going to be the recording workshop. And we're going to be going through a fully produced track of, mixing, recording, editing, mastering, all those things for singer-songwriter Lauren Grace. And we're really excited about it. It'll be hands-on experience of, between miking up a guitar to looking at signal chains to figuring out what EQ and compression is on your mix, all those things, and it's at a really low price. It's our first time kind of opening up the studio to something educational, and so we wanted to make it really accessible to everybody. And yeah, that'll be March 12th and 13th, and that'll cover a lot of what I'm going to talk about some today, about what you'd want to learn. And yeah, if you're local to Lafayette or even in the Midwest, it'd be a great opportunity. So yeah, I'll just kind of go into this. So yeah, what is a producer? What is a music producer, right? So that term's kind of evolved and changed, and it'll kind of depend on the artist and what the artist's expectations are. But right now, speaking from personal experience, producing artists in the studio, a lot of times I'll of course be recording them, so engineering the session. In some cases, I'll be writing with them, writing parts with them. I'll be mixing their songs, editing their songs with vocal tuning, drum editing, instrument editing, and then even sometimes mastering the songs, right? So you can kind of see a producer has to wear a lot of different hats. You can also see that learning all those skills could be super beneficial to you as an artist if you wanted to create your own music. A lot of people always talk about, it's expensive to record in a studio and all that kind of stuff. And, that's something to save on that money. You could learn how to be a producer and learn how to produce your own music. And from there, a lot of people will, like I had talked about, just kind of naturally go into producing music for other people. So kind of some tips on, when you're starting as a producer. I'd really suggest, niching down to just one or two genres that you really focus on. Every genre has, certain tricks of the trade or things that you do in producing them. Um, and it's really important as you're learning to kind of focus in on that so it's not so overwhelming. And my suggestion would be focus on the genre that you write in, that you perform in, the music that you create. I'd really suggest niching down to figuring out how to produce that kind of music, right? And that would be helpful for you as an artist if you went into a studio to get a full album or a single done, but also for working with other friends and making connections in your genre and your style of music. Um, so yeah, I would suggest niching down. I'd suggest, if you're starting out, kind of working with friends and stuff, right? A lot of the artists that'll have come in the studio that are at least new artists or new to recording have dabbled in recording for themselves and recording other friends, right? That's a natural place to start, and I think a great place to start. There's low stress, low risk there, and you're able to kind of enjoy the process and learn. And maybe they'll pay you some money, maybe $50, $100, I don't know. But it's not like a full produced track that someone's paying you like $2,000 to produce, and you have to do it. And if it doesn't sound awesome, right, it's not going to go well. Just something that's kind of like just a step in kind of thing to get in there. And so from there, right, that's kind of the natural progression. I'd look at, the genre of music that you want to produce in, producing yourself and friends, and then, expanding with other artists, right, that will actually pay you. And so, right, obviously locally, you can produce artists, if you have a home studio or you can rent out a studio. But, online now, remote production is like really huge right now. And so if you have the capability to record at home, to be able to create tracks, to be able to produce, guitar and bass and all that kind of stuff, you can get hired in as a producer anywhere. And so some of those places I had talked about on Monday that you could be hired in as, just a session player, but those same places hire producers. So soundbetter.com, airgigs.com, Fiverr.com, Upwork, all those places have artists listing jobs they want done, right? So a lot of times it's like, hey, singer-songwriter with 3 songs that wants to produce an EP that sounds like this, right? And that's what I'm saying. If you niche down and focus on 1 or 2 genres, you can really narrow down who you work with, but also you'll be more of an expert in that field, and someone that you will have a portfolio that sounds like what that person wants, right? So that's kind of like just an easy, natural progression of stepping up from producing yourself to friends to then maybe some artists remotely, or in the studio, right? We will have, like at Rec Room, we'll have other producers come in. I mentioned Victor Lee on Monday as a phenomenal guitarist, but he also is a producer and an engineer, and he's come and recorded in the studio. We've had a few guys from Nashville come down and need a studio to rent out and produce from, right? And they've just done the same thing, right? So, if there's a genre that we don't really either want to work with, not necessarily want to work with, but, I just talked about niching down, we do the same thing. If there's a genre that we're not really, experienced in, right, anyone can, record here in the studio. Any of the engineers can record what you have, but there's a certain expertise in some certain genres. So we're always, adding different producers for maybe one-off projects and things like that. So yeah, just thinking, for yourself, if you're wanting to produce, right, you need a few things at home if you're going to produce at home, right? So, a computer, obviously, an audio interface, a digital audio workstation like Pro Tools, Logic, Reaper. People use Ableton Live. A MIDI keyboard, which I have one there. It's kind of hard to see. A few others to my left and right off screen that you can use to produce with, and then right, your own equipment in terms of amps, guitars, and basses, things like that. Kind of depending on the genre that you have, right? So there is some upfront cost of investing in equipment. And, the other thing I suggest is, learning how to produce. So taking a course, going to a workshop, watching an online class, or going through YouTube, right, and learning through there, right? Producing can be a lot of work. Me personally, I've spent, thousands and thousands of dollars learning how to produce, how to record, how to mix, how to master. I started out doing it for my own music, and then working at the studio and moved towards, producing for other artists and producing some remotely, right? And I'm every year continuing purchasing courses and learning, from different people. And it's an awesome experience, and it's an awesome opportunity, and it's something that I think is a great investment as an artist. There's a lot of things you can invest in as an artist that people want you to do in the form of marketing or pay to play or, getting a manager or a publicist and things like that. But I really feel like knowing how to record, produce, and things like that can go a long way to not only maybe saving you money in a studio, but also being able to help you be able to understand and really communicate well with the engineer, and really be able to know like what's in your head. A lot of times artists will come in and like, I want this sound, I just don't know how to explain it. If you're experienced in producing, this makes it easier for you to communicate kind of that music lingo and music talk kind of thing like that. So yeah, so that's kind of just a brief overview, right, of producing. So just to kind of recap, right, just suggesting a timeline or a way to kind of build as a producer, right? Looking at producing at your own music, looking at producing some friends, and then possibly getting into remote production or producing at a studio. And then we talked about some kind of things that would be helpful is niching down, practicing a lot and getting an idea, and then doing a workshop or a class, or kind of getting into that to learn from other people that are doing it, right, and other industry professionals. That's kind of the best way to learn, and that personally, from someone who's been into college for a long time, I've learned a lot more outside of college with hands-on experience and learning online through videos, or even just going through and hiring in someone to come and show me how to do something. So something that I always suggest. So yeah, that's kind of producing in a nutshell. I guess the last thing is, people want to kind of know like what they can make per, song or an album. So to kind of give you like a high range, low range kind of thing, right? On the high range, I've had friends go down, to Nashville or LA and spend about $2,000 a song just on producing, right? Then, right, I've had people on the lower range, right, who just want, like for instance, hip hop. They bring in a beat and they just want something quickly produced, $100 and $150, and they're out the door kind of thing. So it can be kind of a wide range, and that's why, I suggest, kind of focusing on a genre, because every genre or style has their own, pay scale, has their own things that are needed. Just a big example, right? Hip hop, a lot of producers produce the beat, right? Sell it on different beat stores and websites, and then, right, an artist will bring that beat into the studio and lay something down to it. One of our artists that worked with us, his name was Jermaine. He goes by Coldy Styles, and then Chef Coldy is his beat producer name. He makes a great, living off of creating beats, right? He's a really talented producer, and you can kind of see, right, he niched down into a genre of hip hop, and he's producing beats, and that is his thing, right? But he kind of made some decisions up front to kind of focus on that, and he's learned a lot in that genre. So that would be, something that, I really suggest, is just kind of niching down. So yeah, just one last reminder that if you are interested in learning more about production and recording, we are going to be doing that workshop. It's going to be March 12th through 13th. We really look forward to it. We love teaching people. A lot of times when we have artists come in, right, a lot of them will be mixing with us, and we're always kind of communicating what we're doing, why we're doing it, just for their own personal, learning. So that'll be March 12th to 13th. Lauren Grace will be the artist, and like I said, start to finish, after we're done, we're going to have a fully finished song that she's going to release on, Spotify, Apple Music, all those things. And you'll get a great view on what it's like to produce a song and all that goes into it. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Tomorrow, we'll kind of be talking more about traditional ways to make money as an artist, in the form of like streaming sales or maybe merchandising, or we also kind of have gotten into, right, the kind of like the fan club or things like that, where you have like this perpetual income monthly that fans pay to be part of like an exclusive club. And that'll be something